800,000 years of galactic war until the humans were called in. For 800 millennia, the galaxy had been embroiled in unending war. The Zarnathi Collective and the Kethan Dominion had locked horns in a conflict so ancient that its origins were myth to most species. Planets were turned to ash, civilizations rose and fell, and countless lives were extinguished in the crossfire. Neither side could achieve dominance, and the stalemate became a grotesque status quo, a war without victors, only survivors. The galaxy's oldest races, weary and fractured, had long ceased to believe in peace. Diplomacy was a dead art, and the idea of coexistence was regarded as naive at best and treasonous at worst. Into this chaos entered humanity, an upstart species from the outer rim of the galactic spiral. They were latecomers to the interstellar stage, unnoticed for much of their existence. That changed when the Terran Union discovered the Fold Gate, a relic of a forgotten era, and humanity's starships spilled into the galaxy at large. First, the major factions dismissed humans as inconsequential. Primitive, brash, and painfully optimistic, they seemed ill-suited to the brutal realities of galactic conflict. But that perception shifted when humanity began to intervene. They didn't conquer, not in the traditional sense. Instead, they negotiated, brokered, and bargained their way into alliances, leveraging their ingenuity and resilience to become indispensable. And then, when both the Zarnathi and Kethan reached the brink of mutual annihilation, they turned to humanity as the last hope for resolution. Admiral Kara Voss stood aboard the TSA Resolute, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection of the galaxy before her. Red and blue markers denoted the territories of the warring factions, their borders jagged and chaotic. The map was a testament to centuries of bloodshed, but Kara's attention was drawn to the thin green lines weaving through the chaos, the human presence, tenuous yet undeniable. "Admiral, the Kethan envoy is ready for the summit," said Commander Rajpatal, her second in command. Kara nodded, her expression unreadable. "And the Zarnathi?" "Arrived an hour ago. They're waiting in the other chamber." The summit was a gamble, perhaps the most audacious gamble in human history. The Zarnathi and Kethan despised each other with a fervor that defied logic, and centuries of propaganda had only deepened the divide. Yet Kara believed in humanity's ability to mediate, not because they were inherently noble, but because they were uniquely suited to thrive in chaos. She stepped into the neutral chamber, a circular room designed with human simplicity in mind. No grandiose displays or intimidating architecture, just a table and chairs. The Zarnathi delegation entered first, their crystalline forms refracting the chamber's light in dazzling patterns. Their leader, High Mediator Salistar, regarded Kara with something approaching respect. "Admiral Voss," Salistar said, their voice a harmonious blend of tones. "This attempt at negotiation is curious." Before Kara could respond, the Kethan entered, their hulking forms clad in ceremonial armor. General Tirok, the Kethan commander, snorted dismissively. "Humans meddling in matters beyond their grasp. How predictable." Kara smiled faintly. "And yet, here you are, General. Shall we begin?" The negotiations were predictably tense. The Zarnathi and Kethan could barely speak without veiled threats or outright insults. Kara and her team acted as buffers, redirecting the vitriol into productive channels. They proposed solutions that neither side had considered, exploiting humanity's outsider perspective. Incremental progress was made, though it was fragile, like a flame flickering in the wind. During a break in the talks, Kara found herself alone with Tirok. The Kethan general towered over her, his imposing presence matched by a surprisingly keen intellect. "Why do you care?" Tirok asked, his tone more curious than confrontational. "Your species has no stake in this war." Kara met his gaze without flinching. "We care because this war affects everyone. Because the galaxy can't afford another 800,000 years of destruction, and because, frankly, humanity thrives on solving problems others think are unsolvable." Tirok studied her for a moment, then let out a low chuckle. "Bold words, human. Let us see if your actions match them." Over weeks, the summit bore fruit. Ceasefire agreements were drafted, trade routes were proposed, and mutual defense pacts were tentatively discussed. But the true breakthrough came when humanity introduced an idea foreign to both factions: the concept of shared history. Dr. Elena Morales, a historian and anthropologist, presented her findings to the delegates. Using ancient records, she demonstrated that the Zarnathi and Keithan had once been allies, their civilizations intertwined in an age of prosperity. It was a truth buried beneath eons of propaganda and mistrust, but it resonated deeply with both sides. Your war began as a misunderstanding, Morales concluded. A tragedy of miscommunication and fear. But you have the power to end it, to rebuild what was lost. The room fell silent. Even the ever-skeptical Turok appeared thoughtful, his usual bravado tempered by the weight of history. The summit ended with the signing of the Accord of Resolute, a fragile but genuine attempt at peace. The galaxy watched with bated breath as the Zarnathi and Keithan withdrew their fleets and opened their borders to humanitarian efforts led by humanity. Skepticism remained, but hope began to take root in places long thought barren. For humanity, the Accord was more than a diplomatic victory. It was a validation of their place in the galaxy, proof that they could offer more than brute force or technological advancement. They had become mediators, bridge builders, and agents of change. Years later, Admiral Kara Voss stood on the balcony of the newly constructed Galactic Peace Forum. The once ravaged planets of the Zarnathi and Keithan were beginning to recover, their scars fading as cooperation replaced conflict. Humanity's role in the galaxy had grown, not through conquest, but through the power of connection. As she gazed at the stars, Hera allowed herself a rare moment of pride. Humanity had been called in, not as warriors, but as problem solvers. And in doing so, they had proven that even in the darkest times, there was always a path to peace, if one had the courage to walk it.